with Kamakura Mind. So please stay tuned. We will be right back. Wave. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. Today we have two special guests. Thank you so much for joining. Yukiyo and Marian. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So Kamakura is one of my most favorite places. If I go to Tokyo, one of my favorite things to do is escape Tokyo almost immediately and go to Kamakura. So thank you for doing so many interesting and exciting things in Kamakura. I love it.
Oh, great. I'm glad you're interested.
Yeah. Would you like to start by just introducing yourself a little bit?
Me?
Yeah, why don't you start, Yukiyo? Yeah.
Okay. So my name is Yukiyo Matsuzaki Smith. I'm married to American, and I have been living in Kamakura for almost 8 years. I am not from Kamakura. We decided to live in Kamakura after living in Vermont for 5 or 6 years. We had a house in Tokyo, but Tokyo seemed too small after living in Vermont in middle of nowhere. So we were looking around the places, and by Google Earth, I think, from Vermont. And we just thought that the little streets in Kamakura and all the nature's mountains and ocean was great to live in with my little kids. So we decided to live in Kamakura with two little kids. And we know nobody. We knew nobody that time. And after that, I was still working at a regular company as HR and also as a secretary, but I just didn't spend. I only spent in at home after like 8 or 9 every day because I went to work every day to Tokyo, and I felt like I'm not living in Kamakura. And I just wanted to enjoy more about this place. So I quit my job and tried to find what I can contribute, what I can do. And then I started to contact with the people who renovate the old Japanese style house and use as a workshop place. And I contacted them, and they were doing amazing Japanese culture workshops like wagashi making, shojin-ryori, and tea ceremonies. And I just said I'd like to be involved, and that's how I started the Kamakura Mind.
That's great. And Marianne, you want to introduce yourself a bit and how you got involved?
Sure. I live in Fujisawa, which is next door to Kamakura. And we moved here over 10 years ago. But I've been a translator for about 25 years. And my husband and I kept riding our bikes over to Kamakura and ignoring Fujisawa for the longest time. Anyway, I kind of fell in love with it. I did one of those pilgrimages by bicycle around Kamakura. And also translating all day, 10 hours in front of the computer, I really wanted some more people in my life. So little by little, I started giving small tours of Kamakura. And then I kind of actually just by accident walked up these steps that go up to what's called Takara no Niwa, but I call it my secret garden, even though it's not my garden. But it's where one of the places that Kamakura Mind has their workshops, and it's just this lovely secluded little garden behind a temple. And all the temples this is in Kita Kamakura, so all the temples are Zen temples anyway, so you're already in this kind of Zen mood. I just fell in love with it. So now I either take very small groups of people on tours with that workshop as the focus, or I'm part of the team there, and I either interpret or help out, especially, well, I like all the things she does, like Tenugui and wagashi and everything. So anyway, I want to promote Kamakura as well. So that's why I'm with her.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, you guys make a good team when you have like Yukiyo, you have so many amazing partners that you
Yes.
work with that you introduce on your website. How did you find so many wonderful people to partner with? This is amazing.
Yes. Well, I was lucky, I think, that I first contacted with the woman who runs Takara no Niwa, the place Marian was mentioning. And there was so many teachers are doing workshops already in Japanese, wagashi, bento, and potteries. And they were eager to do more, not just for Japanese, but for English speakers. But they didn't have anybody who can help them to connect the English people and these teachers, and they had language barrier. So I thought maybe I can help connecting those two, so we can tell more about Japanese cultures to many people. And so that's how I partner with all those people you see on the website, including the head priest of Jochiji Zen Temple. Yes, he was very cooperative about doing the zazen meditation at the tea house.
Yeah, there's some. I love all of your very unique services that you're collaborating with. Really interesting workshops that you don't often find or see around Japan, like for travelers or residents who really want to try it. But before we dive into that in more detail, what is it about Kamakura you think that makes it a special place for these
Mm,
kinds of workshops?
Well, for me, it's a birthplace of Zen. I think that's very unique. I think there's a controversy that where Zen started in Japan. I know there's many Zen temples in Kyoto, but the spirit of Zen uh, just started in Kamakura. The first monastery uh, was in Kamakura. The Kintsugi temple was the place that all the monks were trained for the first time in Japan. So I call Kamakura is a birthplace of Zen, and especially in Kita Kamakura, there's so many Zen temples, and I feel like every 5 minutes, I think that you see temples if you on Kita Kamakura. And well, first I didn't know about many things about temples. Temples look all the same to me, but more I know about those history, I feel like I wanted to tell more about this. And yes, I think that's a unique about Kamakura. I know that there's so many places that wagashi making and tea ceremony you can experience, but like a tea ceremony, the Zen master in I think 1300, he brought the tea from China, and they started using the tea as to prevent the drowsiness when they're doing zazen meditation, and that's how that's like the origin of tea ceremony. So I always tell the people who does the tea ceremony with us that this is the place that the tea ceremony has started, and they get so excited.
Yeah.
I think part of it also is it's so small and so walkable. So you can do the touristy things that you should do anyway, like seeing the daibutsu is definitely a big thing, but then you can experience something in the grounds of the temple or behind the grounds of the temple. So you kind of feel part of Kamakura rather than just looking. You're kind of maybe living just a few hours, but you're having a little bit of a time doing something. It's I don't know, you feel, and also one other thing is there's so much greenery in Kamakura, so you feel like you're doing something in nature too. It's
Yes.
very peaceful event for me whenever I go.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true of my love for Kamakura, is how you're right there next to beautiful forests. You're not far away from the ocean. You've got that really cute Enoden train
Yeah.
line that you
Yeah.
can take to Enoshima and enjoy the seaside as well. It's just a great location, and I think the fact that there's so many ancient temples and shrines that were not damaged during the war. And I
Right.
think I think you feel that sense of heritage as you're walking around Kita
Yes.
Kamakura or Kamakura itself. Very special place.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think Kamakura Central, though, around Kamakura Station, is probably one of the more over touristy places, but
Yeah.
it's one of the places that I always give as an example of how we should use technology, because one street is so busy and the
Mhm.
next street is not busy, right? So if we have some way to use like Google, or even people would block the busy street and say, please go down the next one, because there's so many beautiful shops on both streets, right?
So true. The right next to the big street, there's a nice patch that you feel like the early 1930s feeling street, and that's empty to
Yeah.
walk.
You can't go wrong in Kamakura. All the back streets are interesting
Yeah,
and fun, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I actually wish they would do like one day a week with no cars, because the streets are really, really narrow, right?
yes,
yeah.
It's
yes, yes.
exhausting that.
I
So,
That's
I
why
think
I don't own car. I always bike
definitely
everywhere.
but yeah.
that is definitely true for any weekend or holiday.
Mhm.
For any of the main shopping areas, I think pedestrian only is a
Yeah.
great
Mhm.
idea.
Yeah.
You have some really interesting and unique offerings. Like I said before, let's talk about some of them.
Okay.
You were making
Mm.
the stamp books. Now, tell us about that, because I know, Marian, you have a sample you can show us as well, right?
Yeah, like that. This is the part we make though, the covering.
Mhm.
If you make all the inside paper, it takes too long. So just the covering.
Mhm.
And tell us, how do people use the stamp book for people who don't know?
Oh, well, it opens up like an accordion, and on each page, I'll show you one page. You go to a temple or a shrine, and you pay normally about 300 yen, and they stamp it. Oops, they stamp it like this. So they put the name of the temple or shrine, the date you visited. I think they also put the sect, whether the Buddhist sect or other information about the shrine on there. And originally, it was kind of more like a receipt or proof that you came there and had a blessing done or prayed there or something. But now it's kind of become a hobby of many people, not just Japanese, but many non-Japanese as well. And it's kind of a nice way, especially if you're only on a few week trip. That's a way to like tell yourself where you went and kind of have memories afterwards. But you do have to be careful, because these kanji, they write it so beautifully that sometimes you can't read it later. So you need to keep a list of where you went each time you get a stamp. But I have about 8 of those books already. I need to stop. Yeah.
It becomes like an obsession, but they're so gorgeous. How can
Mhm.
you go wrong? I love them.
And
And
also, if you can sit there and watch the Buddhist priest or one of the staff do the calligraphy in there, oh, it's like that in itself makes you kind of calm down. I love that.
Well, I took my mother-in-law to one of the temple in Kamakura on the
wonderful.
day that Reiwa started. It says the first day of Reiwa, May 1st. And she was so happy that she got this, and she wrote an article about that in her hometown. Yes.
Wow, it's really special
Mm.
and so gorgeous. Of course, you could use them for other stamps, these books, but it's
Mhm.
such a special experience. Like you said, going to the temple or shrine, asking them to write it, and then watching them write beautiful calligraphy in your book. What a nice
I-
experience. I love that.
Yes. So if you do that the beginning of your trip to Japan, you can use that to, every temple you go, you can use that. So our workshop, we don't just do that like a craft class. We talk about the history of the Goshuin and what the manners to get the stamps and stuff. So we always like to add a story behind it and history about what they're experiencing.
And when we made this, I was actually a participant, but I interpreted a little bit during the workshop. But it was held at a more modern tea house in Kamakura proper. But the owner of the tea house is the tea ceremony master, and she, of course, made us bowls of tea, and we had wagashi on the tatami floor. So that's like a whole nother part of the experience, is what after you've made and done your hard work here, then you get to relax with a cup of tea. And she also explains lots of neat things about tea ceremony itself, which I think isn't all that easy to do. You know, I mean, we don't even drink matcha at home hardly ever, maybe once in a while. So it's good to find a place where you can get matcha and watch them with the bowl of tea for you.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
lovely. We had a conversation the other day about tea ceremony, and Paprika Girl and her tea ceremony teacher were talking about how tea ceremony was always a way for people to relax and
Yeah.
to talk.
Mhm.
But that was a real shock to me because I always feel nervous and I should be quiet
Yes.
during tea ceremony. But now next time I do tea ceremony, now I can relax because I know I should be talking to other
Yes.
people.
Well, you made an interesting point because that's our aim at our tea ceremony experience. We divide the experience in half, and first time it's practice. The tea master will tell you how to walk in tatami room and how to bow, how to turn the table before you eat a drink. And the first half is practice to attend the real tea ceremony, so they don't get too nervous.
Yeah, that's true.
And the tea ceremony. So I think it's I don't know. I haven't found any workshops that's that kind of style. Like practice first with empty table and no wagashi, but just how to learn how to do it, and then actual tea ceremony.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
that's
it's
great. And it looks like the place that you're using, the tea house, is
Yes.
just gorgeous. Tell us a little bit about that tea house because that's one of your partnerships, right?
Yes. The tea house was built about over 80 years ago by a modern architect. It's hard to believe that it was made by the modern architect, but he was relative. His father was a Japanese architect, so he knew how to build the Japanese buildings like tea houses. And in 80 years ago, and the tea house was owned by the private person, the individuals, until 2 years ago. But he get too old, so he returned to the Jochiji temple, the owner of the tea house. And so the priest had a choice to sell to somebody like in good price, but he wanted people to see appreciate the tea house, the old tea house, and he asked the organization to manage this place so that we can use as a workshops and the place for the experiences. So that's how we started using about 2 years ago to get more people to know about this tea house.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yes.
What a beautiful place. And you were saying, is it the same location where you also do indigo dyeing and you
Yes.
can do it outside?
Yes,
Is that right?
Takara no Niwa, the secret garden that Marian was saying, and the tea house Hoan is connected to each other. So sometimes we do the wagashi making workshop at the old folk house, and then they move to the tea house with the wagashi they made and have a tea ceremony. So
Lovely.
the combination is fun too.
Yeah.
There's like a little stone path between where you make the stuff or do your dyeing, and then you walk down the stone path to the Hoan tea house. And then if you walk down a little bit further towards the station, there's Jochiji Temple. So it's all along one little trail. It's really lovely.
Now, indigo is one of the things that I absolutely adore as someone passionate about sustainability, not only because of culture, it's an important part of Japanese culture, but it also protects your body because it repels insects and it doesn't attract insects that will destroy it. It's also, as indigo is growing, it's good for the environment. As you're using it, it's non-toxic. And after you use it, it doesn't harm anything in the water when it goes back into nature. So in terms of a circular product, indigo is fantastic. And I wish we had more natural indigo easily accessible. So it's wonderful that you're doing this in Kamakura.
And the instructor just this year, she started to plant the indigo in Takara no Niwa.
Wonderful.
So maybe next year we can use the one we just harvested from the
Oh,
garden.
That would be
isn't
so
that
cool.
fun?
So
Yeah.
I want to show you. This is my tenugui that I made at Takara no Niwa. This shape was made from a wooden spoon.
Hmm.
So, and I know it's kind of weird, but we folded our white tenuguis up into tiny tiny squares and then put clamps on them, spoons, triangles, whatever we want. And so that's my little. I kind of think it looks like aliens. I like it.
I like it. It looks like, is it supposed to be rice petals? It looks like rice petals.
It's more like one of those wooden soup spoons they give you sometimes, because it's a little bit smaller
Oh,
than the
yeah,
rest of it. Yeah,
yeah,
but you're
yeah.
right. It does look like, yeah.
It's so beautiful. You did a great job.
Thank you. So you can see the edges here. Can you see they're kind of rough? I don't know if it's hard to see. They're not. It's not sewn. The edges are not sewn.
Yep.
So that it's for me, I thought it was just because they dry much faster that way. There's nothing blocking the water. But Yukio-san, you were saying another reason?
Yes. So back in Edo period, they used to use that as a for everything. Well, tenugui was a useful things to bring, especially when they go for trip. So when they always have tenugui for some anything. So when you get injured, you can just rip some of the part of the tenugui and just put the place to stop the blood, and then you can just blow your nose, just rip part of it. So it was not just for one thing. I always thought
Yeah,
tenugui was for the festival. When you get too hot, you just wipe yourself.
I like it
And
pretty like this.
yeah, but there's several ways, so many ways to use the tenugui, not
Yeah.
just for the wiping the sweat.
That's wonderful. And then on screen now, I'm showing your photo of wrapping around a wine bottle or sake bottle with tenugui as well.
Yes. So there's so many ways to use the tenugui, and that's one of them. And like when you are invited for a party, I don't know if that's going to happen this year. If you
Right.
just wrap the sake bottle or wine bottle, it's a nice wrapping, and you can just keep that tenugui with that bottle as well. So
And
Like part
especially
of the gift.
especially if you dyed it yourself and then
no,
you wrap it and take it to a party like that and present it. That's such
yes,
a nice,
it.
it's so much nicer, right? And I
Mhm.
don't know, but with fudoshiki, if you
Mm.
wrap a gift and you take it with your fudoshiki wrapping, you keep your fudoshiki, right? Is
That's
it
right.
Yeah.
is it the
Yeah.
same with tenugui or do you give the tenugui as part of the gift?
I don't think there's any rules
Okay.
because it's tenugui.
Yeah.
Because
In fact,
I was really
I
shocked
think.
by that when I first discovered it because I was given a gift and the fudoshiki was so beautiful that I was like, oh my gosh, I love it, I love that fudoshiki, and I was like raving about it, and then my friend's like, I'm gonna take that home, and I was like, no. She said,
I
but
have
I'll
a
get you
feeling.
one. I'll get you one. She felt so
Yeah.
bad.
But I don't think people used to wrap stuff in tenugui. I mean, they didn't wrap presents in tenugui. I think those are more daily, like a daily utensil in a way. And I think it's just recently because tenugui are really having a boom now,
Yeah.
and they're
Mm,
much more artistic these days. So I think anyway we should make it a tradition, wrapping and giving it to
yes,
people in tenugui.
let's do that.
I think so. And then it's like an added value gift, right? Because
Mhm.
then when you give it in tenugui or fudoshiki, if you're generous,
Yes.
they can reuse it over and over again, right?
Mhm.
Don't
Mhm.
throw it away. If you give it to someone, you have to reuse it. Yukio, can you show us your tenugui behind you? You had
Yes.
some that you made.
Well, this is not what I made, but my the teacher for the indigo dyeing, she actually studied in Sweden, and she learned those patterns. And her goal is to make 108 designs for her
Wow.
life, and this is one of them. And she always put the like wishes to her design, and this is to wish to have more family warm time because it's getting toward winter, And especially this time, you don't get to see your family much as you used to.
Yeah.
So she just wanted to show this for winter, that she wishes everybody to have warm and heartful winter.
That's so true, isn't it? That our whole reality has changed so much that
Yeah.
we're so nostalgic
Yes.
to
About the
times when we could get together and enjoy
mm,
parties together and things. So let's hope we can get back to it. But until then, you know,
yes.
we can do smaller group activities like you are offering.
Yes.
So one other thing, in the same picture, you have indigo dyeing,
Mhm.
moss art, and nature walk. Now, nature walk, I can imagine, because Kamakura is such a wonderful place to walk around. But tell me about moss art. I love it.
Yes, I wish I had the monstarium with me, but it's very interesting. When you come visit temples, you see lots of moss, and Kamakura is very humid because we are surrounded by the mountains, and so it's a great environment for moss to grow. And I found one moss specialist in Kamakura, and his shop is full of moss. He's growing so many kinds of moss. And I don't know if this is the right expression, but he's a moss nerd.
That's good.
I think that's perfect. Yeah, or moss geek.
Yes. So when I visited his store, I get too so excited because he has so many little pots with moss, with little figures, and so many kinds of moss. So I just felt like I have to tell more people about moss. So yeah, so I just started to provide that in English. I made an English description about moss and how the relationship about moss to Japanese people. And I think you know about it, but the Japanese anthem has moss, mentioned the moss in it.
Really? I did
Right.
not know that.
Really? The end of the verse, the lyric is koke no musumade. Koke means moss, and musumade means until the moss will I don't know. That means I think that means it will last for a long time. The moss stays for a long time. So koke no musumade stays.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
I love moss. It's so beautiful. And I
Mhm.
think especially in the forest, you would see beautiful moss, or on the temple rock walls, you see the
Yeah.
Yeah.
beautiful moss, right?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
JJWalsh Temple, I think they use the stones, the old stones called Kamakura stone.
Yeah.
That's really a soft stone compared to other stones. So they use the stone so that koke will grow more and looks older.
Wow,
So
how interesting.
yeah.
And of course, very environmentally friendly
Mm.
to grow more moss and to appreciate moss is wonderful
In the house too.
in the house.
And
I love
Yeah.
that. Now,
Mm.
next to the moss expert, you
Yeah.
also have the making your own bento box
Oh,
and filling it with Japanese cooking class. And I
mm.
thought that was so nice. Not
Mm.
only cooking, but
Mhm.
making the box as well, which is
Oh.
very environmentally friendly, of course.
Mm. Well, we don't actually use box, but make box. But we use
Oh,
the
okay.
bamboo skin, the box by bamboo skin, so it's environmentally friendly, I can say. Yeah.
Yeah,
So you
looking at it, and there's no plastic, which
Mm.
is so unusual in
Mm.
Japan, especially right now, right? That
That's right.
usually all the bento boxes are just plastic. So
Mm.
it's so nice to see. And then I saw in your description that you
Mm.
can learn how to make Japanese food, you can fill your bento box, and then you can take home your natural bento box and hopefully reuse it. And I thought that was such a nice
Mm.
additional added value to the class.
Yes. I think Marian can tell more about it because she has did the tour.
Yeah, I took eight or nine Australians on this tour. A friend of mine was heading the tour. She brought them all over from Australia. She's an interpreter, thank goodness, because trying to interpret for so many people would drive me nuts, I think. But we all went straight to Takarano Niwa, and we all made obentos. We made onigiris, and which some looked more like Mount Fuji than you had some interesting results there. And then, for example, one of the participants got to do the tamagoyaki and make it with the teacher in front of everybody. What else? Miso soup, some veggies. Oh, and chicken karaage. I think we had it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we all placed it all in our own lunch box, the bamboo box. And it's so different than say in Australia or America because I put a sandwich in a plastic bag and give it to my kid, and that is not very beautiful and not very sustainable. So doing this and learning how to like pack things in kind of tightly so that they don't fall around and they still look beautiful, I think that was like the most precious point of the whole workshop.
Mm-hmm.
But then we just took our bentos outside in the garden there, just right behind the temple, and just sat down at the tables there and had tea and miso soup and these bentos. So we were really lucky. I mean, of course, if it's raining, I don't know what we would have done, but we got to sit there and chat.
We have
And
nice washitsu.
oh, that's right, there is a washitsu there. That's right. But with a lot of tall Australians, sometimes washitsu is not the best place to sit down. Lots of long legs hanging out. But then everybody had their empty bamboo box that they could take home with them. So that was really nice. Yeah, they were here, I think, for 10 days or something. And I secretly heard this was their favorite day of the whole trip. So that made us feel so good.
That's lovely to hear.
Yeah.
I'm showing a picture now of the woman who teaches Japanese cooking, Ryoko Irie from your website. Is she doing shojin-ryori, so the Buddhist vegan food? Is that right?
Yes, well, actually, she's teaching Buddhist vegan food, but the bento box teacher is different.
Okay.
So I don't think we have picture there. But yes, she is like a person to go when you learn about shojin-ryori. We had to pause now because of the COVID, but yes, we have done some of the shojin-ryori classes, and we made sushi with vegetables. And we used I think paprika, the red paprika, to look like tuna. Yes. And yeah, that was fun for I think Americans, or I think it was, yes, American mothers, to see how the sushi can be made with vegetables even.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. And I think offering the shojin-ryori class, because a lot of people will visit Kyoto just to eat the vegan Buddhist food, or even in Hiroshima now at Miyajima Island in the Buddhist temple, they have beautiful shojin-ryori foods.
Mm,
And whenever I eat it, I love it. And I'm like, how do they make it? Like it's so tasty, but everything is plant-based, and it's a traditional Japanese culture, but I
yes.
think it's so mysterious. So it's so
Mm,
nice that you're offering a class how to make it. I hope you can go back to it
yes.
sometime.
But did you know that it's based from the Buddhist temples, and they were prohibited to use the animal products, so that's where it started. So it's really related to Kamakura because there's many temples around it. So,
Yeah.
And you
and
have one course, the zazen
yes.
and the shojin-ryori together.
Mm,
And so the zazen, can you explain it to people that might not know?
okay. Zazen is I think maybe you're more familiar with meditation. And that's like a main part of the Zen Buddhism. That's how I think that Zen is different. No, Zen is different from other Buddhist sects because Zen, you just sit there and you find your enlightenment by yourself by just sitting. But other Buddhist sects, I think they mainly pray for God. So that zazen is the basic thing that you do if you learning Zen. And for our class, we don't do too much about those principles, but we just provide the time that you will just properly sit and breathe, so you can focus on yourself, not mind of what's happening outside. You just leave everything behind and sit quietly. So the Buddhist priest at the Jojiji temple will guide you how to breathe. So we don't do like 2 hours or 4 hour Zen meditation. We just do 15 minutes and pause and 15 minutes. So 2 sessions to know what people feels after they just sit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I took my husband and 2 people from the U.S. and to participate in that. And to be honest, my husband's Japanese. It was the very first time he had done zazen before in his life. Always happens. The foreigner has to take the Japanese to learn these things. But I just want to tell people that it's nothing. I was a little bit nervous, but it's nothing to be nervous about or scared of. I mean, I had this very stoic image of Buddhist priests doing zazen, but it's the things that he talked about were just very casual and calm and just sitting there, especially in your life when I mean, I sleep with my iPhone basically. So to learn how to like put everything away and just sit there with your thoughts and kind of push your thoughts away at the same time, it was really, I don't want to say enlightening because I didn't get enlightened yet. I'm on the way to enlightenment, let's say.
Yeah.
I was really excited to try zazen, and this years ago, and so I went, and the priest was leading us through meditation, telling us to relax. I was really relaxed. I was meditating. It was so calm, peaceful, and then I heard people getting hit by a stick. And I was like, what the heck is happening? And then I didn't understand that if you lean forward, you're asking for them to hit you so that you stay awake and focused. Well, I think he should have told me that because I was then paranoid for the rest of the time that they were going to hit me, and I was like, no, I'm not ready.
To our experience, we'll tell you beforehand.
Okay, thank you. Please tell people. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we don't want those surprises. So we always explain what's happening next. And I think good thing about our experience of zazen is after that, they have a nice chat with a priest. I think that's precious at the tea room, because if you do a zazen meditation at temple, there's huge place that you do the zazen, and I don't think there are many chance to privately talk with the priest.
Yeah.
So we appreciate the priest takes time to answer the questions that people have and have tea and wagashi afterwards.
That's great.
That's great.
Louise Puppy has joined from Periscope and brought a lot of people. Thank you, Louise. Louise says she loves shojin-ryori. It's delicious. She ate it mostly on Koya-san.
Oh,
wow.
So
Nice.
another popular place for visiting Buddhist temples and eating shojin-ryori, right?
Yeah.
Another thing that you're doing, which I haven't really seen around other areas, is making your own Hanko seal.
Oh, yes.
Can you talk about that?
Yes. I think Marian did that too. I think we were interviewed by NHK that time.
Yeah.
And Hanko is very controversial right now after COVID. But it's really interesting. The thing is, we talk about the history about how Hanko has started in Japan and how the Kamakura government, when the samurai started to use the Hanko as a promise, like a contract, when they make contract between samurai, they use the Hanko. And also, after you know those, you learn about those little history, you will just think about your name, like Marian, and I think we decided. How did you make your Hanko? Do you remember?
At first it was some kind of soba. It looked like a sobaya, and then we changed it because the last one. What was mine? I forgot what it means now.
Yeah, but we think about your name, the meaning of your name.
Like, yes, and I think because my name comes from Scotland, so they put a little bit of that in that, and also Kinoshita, so under the tree, and my maiden name also means under the tree. So he knows so many kanji, so he really fits them together. You don't end up with some strange kanji that you think looks great, but it's a very threatening meaning or something like that.
It's really a moment to think about your character and your name. And I remember that my father-in-law did the same experience, and his name is David. And we use the kanji meaning the exit, deru, and man as hito, the kanji for the hito. And he is, it's called, it can, you that can pronounce David, but that also means that his character is very like outgoing and stand out and start man kind of person. So that matches with his character too. So he was really happy to find those Japanese characters
Oh,
and also
nice.
pronounce his name. So that was a good souvenir.
That's really nice and such added value that you work on a character that has different meaning based on your personality or something. I think when I first came to Japan and my staff at the you have to make a hanko years ago. They're trying to phase it out now, right? But in Japan, when I came in the early 90s, long time ago, you had to have a hanko to have a bank account, and you had to have a bank account to get paid your salary. So he said, well, you need to make a hanko, and it was all new to me. And what do you make? What do you make? I ended up with a katakana, just my name, really simple. But he had suggested, oh, your name is Joy. You should have kanji Joy, woman doctor. And I was like, I'm a teacher. That's a little bit too like too amazing. I don't want to do woman doctor.
That's funny.
So if you do something more connected to your character, not just how it sounds, that's
And most
really
of
nice.
the time, people don't think about your name that way. So it's even at half an hour, it's good. Like you think about your name.
Yeah, it was a whole little bit of a lesson in Japanese in a way. It was quite interesting for me. Also, you get to choose the kind of wood you want to use, and you get to choose your case, and it's a whole experience. I found it was really nice.
Yeah. We had a question from Will. He said, "I'm very confused on what we're talking about. Would anybody like to elaborate?" So we're talking about Kamakura, and these two lovely women are doing Kamakura Mind, which is doing experiences, Japanese culture and food experiences in Kamakura, which is a beautiful area of Japan, not too far outside of Tokyo. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for asking that question.
Thank you.
Yeah. Another really interesting service you guys are offering a workshop is making incense sachets.
Yes.
How interesting. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So the incense master will bring lots of those incense in the classroom. I think she brings about 10 kind of smells, including byakudan. I don't know how to say it in English again. I forgot. Yeah, like a Japanese smell. You smell the incense you smell at the temple.
Oh,
And
okay.
all the, like a cinnamon or those we call Japanese incense. And we ask them to mix those powders in the little bowl first, and they will learn what does that affect to your body. Like I think cinnamon will make you feel awake or help digestion or something, and you will learn all those effects of the incense and decide which incense they use to make a sachet. And then they will choose the fabric they like a kimono, beautiful kimono fabric, and they you'll make your own incense sachet with your kind of the incense you like.
So you get to choose your own scent. I just looked it up. It's sandalwood. What you're talking?
Sandalwood. Yes, thank you.
I love that smell of sandalwood incense that you usually smell when you go to Buddhist temples, right? It's a very common incense type. And you can find these incense sachets for sale in temples usually. But
Yes.
to make your own and design what kind of material bag and everything, I love that idea.
That's fun. And the instructor, actually, she made the incense, the mixture of incense for temples as well in Kamakura. So she's really into making original scents for each temple in Kamakura, and she does the workshops too for
Wow.
us.
I could imagine because your offerings are so unique and they're not the typical tourist only activities. I could imagine a lot of local Japanese people would also like to take your classes.
Yes. Well, they do have classes for Japanese people already, so they're taking them, but not for foreigners. So that's what
Yeah.
I'm trying to do for the people who live in Japan as well as the tourists. Um, I think not many people have a chance to experience those things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like when I took my university students to Hawaii, and I'm from Hawaii, and they were doing things like going to luau. And I was
Yeah.
like, I've never been to a luau, you know? I mean, sometimes when you're from somewhere, you don't do these amazing experiences from your own place. So
Mm,
it's wonderful to offer it in Japanese and to residents,
yes.
especially now because we don't have inbound tourism, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It was
Let's
interesting that not many people who live in Japan were interested. We were first thought that we are gonna attract more tourists, but the residents were more into our experience, so we were surprised too.
Yeah.
I remember I took your wagashi class, your wagashi workshop, and in fact, it was just in October. So I was so excited. I'd never made wagashi before, and we went there. But it was a class for Japanese that day. But you had extra space, so I went. And unfortunately, to me, those women were so good, the other participants. So we were making, of course, jack-o'-lantern. Here I'm expecting this big, Japanese image in my mind, and we're making jack-o'-lantern, little tiny jack-o'-lanterns, but I could tell Japanese, I felt they were all women, but I feel like all the women were so far above me in terms of graphics or something because they had the most adorable jack-o'-lanterns, every single one of them. And mine was, with the crooked teeth and the big nose, and that's all.
Well, that was your first wagashi, right? You should come
Fresh
back for the
wagashi. Yeah,
second.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe some more typical offerings that you might see in other tourist destinations is the kimono, wearing kimono, which you offer as well, and sake tasting, which I noticed you offer. But you also have making your own lacquer chopsticks,
Yes,
designing. Yeah, can you show us?
yes. Actually, I did make this for our anniversary with my husband. What unique about this is you get to choose the size of the chopsticks first. Can you see the sizes? Wait a minute. Yeah, size is little different.
Uh-huh.
A little bit, just a little bit. This one is longer, I think, because my husband is taller and his hand is bigger. So, so first we choose the size of the chopsticks, and actually for our anniversary, I carved his and he carved mine. Sweet, right?
That's so sweet. Very romantic.
Yeah.
Or the source of a fight for years to come. Like, why did you make mine so ugly?
Anyways, it
That would
hasn't
never
happened.
happen. That would never
Yeah.
happen with you and your husband, I'm sure.
So yes, that's what I think we do have. I don't know if there's English saying, but we do meoto hashi, like a couple chopsticks.
Oh, nice.
Chopsticks. We don't have that, do we? Like a husband and wife set of fork and knives? No.
I love that idea though. That's a nice idea.
Great thing. So we did learn about the Kamakura Bori lacquerware. It started in Kamakura and it came from China, but the Kamakura Zen master brought in those techniques, and we learned from the 29th generation of those Kamakura Bori master. And he has a little gallery, and you learn about the history of Kamakura Bori carving, and then you will experience the carving. So you appreciate more about how it's made, and then start carving. And lacquering process, you can't actually you cannot do the lacquering with us because of it's very allergic. No,
Toxic.
it's toxic,
Yeah.
and the factory doesn't let the tourists do in. So we will let the lacquer to do this lacquering process about, I think they do put the lacquer 10 or 20 times to make this color.
Wow.
Yeah. So we have to wait. They have to do like dry and put lacquer and dry and lacquer. So we'll, after 2 months after carving, you get this chopsticks.
That's so
Mm.
nice. Yeah,
Mm.
we had a lacquer tree growing in our garden. We didn't know it was like from the nearby forest. It was a beautiful tree. Would be bright red in autumn. But the neighbor asked us to cut it down and he showed us on his hands he had blisters because of picking up the leaves. So we're like, of course we'll cut it down. I'm so sorry. So I didn't realize, but yeah, it's quite toxic.
Yes. Yeah. And
Um,
also the fun thing is we just combined the experiences. Last year, a Swiss sailing team came to practice in Japan, and they chose a workshops to do making the chopsticks and also the rice bowl making.
nice.
So they were staying for like few months in Japan to practice. So they did both chopsticks and rice bowl making with us. So it was a great Japanese souvenir from Kamakura.
Yeah, I saw that you have rice bowl making, like a pottery class. Make
Yes.
your own rice bowl and make your own chopstick stand.
Yes. Yes. So they did the set workshop with us.
That's so nice.
That's really nice. I love that. What a nice memory. They can take it home, and every time they eat, they remember their experience, right?
I wish they are back this year. We were expecting them.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. I also notice you offer classical dance. Is that dancing in
Yes.
kimono? What kind of dance is that?
It's a Japanese Nihon. It's called Japanese dance. I mean, literally means Japanese dance. And actually, we haven't done the first class yet, but you will learn like a basic step of the Japanese dance. We're thinking about doing there's no theater in Kamakura. So we're thinking about renting the place to learn little basic steps of the Japanese dance with using a fan. So with kimono, not kimono, but yukata, they will learn how to wear yukata because kimono, you take so much time to just wear kimono. So with yukata and fan, you will experience the dance. Yeah.
That's so nice. I sometimes wish around August when they have the obon dancing that
Yes, upon dancing.
it would be so nice to know one of the dances and join in. Of course, you can join in, just imitate everyone. But a dance class is so unique. I don't see that offered, right?
So one thing we were thinking about is do the practice before the bon dance, so that we can join the festival in Kamakura. So we were planning on that, but just COVID.
Yeah. I actually, when I grew up in Hawaii, we had bone dancing class in elementary school. Because we have bone dances in Hawaii. And I remember digging a ditch, Yeah. It's not what you're supposed to say, but it helps kids remember, I guess.
Yes, I learned that way too in
Did
Japanese.
you? Okay.
Same way.
We have a lot of Japanese Americans in Hawaii, right? Another really interesting class, you said you haven't started yet, but I'm really intrigued in Kintsugi. Can you tell us?
Yeah.
Golden joinery.
Golden joinery. Yeah, tell us about it.
Yes, so I think just finished 3 sessions. You have to wait. You will do the first session just scrubbing the part that's cracked. And then you put some, I think lacquer, they use lacquer, and wait for like a few weeks. And then put the lacquer again and wait for a few weeks.
Wow.
And then lastly, at last, you get to put the golden powder on top of lacquer, so it will be smooth and the crack will be mended. Yes.
Connected. Yeah.
Connected. So it's very long process. It's not like 1 day workshop. So I recommend to this workshop for people who is in Japan and can come back and do it over again. And also, it was really calming things to do. I just thought, oh, just scrubbing for an hour, and I just thought I'm gonna get bored. But it was so calming just to scraping the cracked part and talking to people.
And of course, that's very sustainable, right? To take something broken, to
Yes.
fix it, and to reuse it longer. That's a very sustainable practice. I love it.
I just thought that, I want to break more plates, but actually, yeah, it was so much fun that, yeah, I want to do this again.
Did you have to take a broken bowl with you, or do they break something for you? How does that work?
I had enough broken dishes
Oh, you
in
did?
at home. Actually, I brought too much that I have to go back again to do the second round,
Oh, wow.
golden joinery.
That is so interesting.
Yes.
I want
And
to. I hope you can offer that as a workshop. I think that would be really popular. Yeah.
I hope so too,
Yeah.
soon.
We only have about 5 more minutes. There's so interesting talking about your different things. I want to leave time to talk about your Kamakura care package.
Thank you. So I will show you. This is for the people who cannot visit Kamakura much because of the pandemic time, and also the people who love Kamakura. I just made this. This is one of the packages. Can you see?
Yes.
Yeah, that we feature two artists, the pottery artist Rei Toyoda, and also the Tenugui that you see on the back, like those two Tenuguis. So we feature two artists by season, and winter package our theme is warm and connected. So we like you to have this tenugui and also the bowl to have nice cup of tea or hot wine with your family and at home, even it's winter. And yes, we like to send love from Kamakura, even you cannot visit.
That's lovely. So that you're going to start offering on your website or Facebook page?
Yes, well, both from November 15th, we're thinking about. Yeah.
Nice. So sometime next week. And the cookies are from a local Kamakura shop, right?
Yes, those cookies and chai from local spice company called Anam, and they made a nice chai kit for 2 cups. That's just enough to have 2 cups of this chai bowl. And also you can enjoy that with cookies. This is all natural ingredients, and the almonds, the size of the almond is huge. It's very chunky, and I can't find this kind of cookies around here in Japan. It's how to say that, it doesn't melt in your mouth. You have to really chew and more you bite, you get the more flavor. It's like a dried, I don't know, it's dried squid.
Kind of like macaroni, maybe?
Chewy, yeah, a bit tough and chewy, but tasty. And
Yes.
the pottery looks so beautiful. Where is the pottery from?
Pottery is by Rei Toyoda in Kamakura. She actually studied in Barcelona in Spain, and she thought that she liked to connect. Do you see this pattern? She always wanted to show the nature in her work. So this she imagines about the bark of the tree, and if you touch, it's really rough, but it's have a feeling of like you're holding a tree. So she yes, that's one of her series called arbores. That means a tree in Spanish.
Beautiful.
And
Yeah, I love that.
so we have the big bowls as well, and you can use for rice bowls or tea bowl as well.
So one large bowl, one small bowl?
Well, yes. In the biggest package, we call the package called Ocean, and you get 2 bowls, big and small.
That's lovely. I love how you're featuring so many local artists and local shops. And are they all female entrepreneurs or artists?
Not all female.
You have a lot though. That's awesome. I think I might have been to that cookie shop in Kamakura. Really? I think I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah. And they make a bread from natural yeast, and they don't do additives. So
Very nice.
Nice.
So this box will be available on your website and Facebook page from next week. Any other things that you're looking forward to starting in the near future, or?
What else? Well, Kintsugi for sure. Would like to start that. Maybe not for tourists, but for the people who live here. And maybe, I don't know, online workshops. That's gonna be really hard.
It's
Just
tricky, isn't it? Yeah, really tricky to do online things. The
yeah,
kinds of things you're doing are with experts, right?
right.
But it might not be impossible to get your cooking expert, for example, shojin-ryori, and with a translator like Marian, and you could do a Zoom call, and maybe people could be cooking as you do online. That might not be too bad.
Maybe
Yeah.
that will be fun.
And
Just
then
like when you cook, you look at the YouTube how to make the recipe.
exactly.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Good idea.
exactly.
Oh.
And then I would prefer zazen meditation by Zoom because I know I'm not going to get hit.
It doesn't hurt that much, I swear.
I know. Now that I know what it is, I think I might ask for it next time. But because I didn't know what was happening, it was just a surprise, right?
Wow, that's that.
But yeah, you can't do zazen by Zoom if you want to get the awakening hit.
Yeah, I bet we could ask our kids to whack us once or twice.
Oh,
They
they
would
would
do it.
like that. They would like that too
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
Oh.
But I love everything that you're doing, and I love all of your collaborative work with all the local artisans and local entrepreneurs and musicians and artists. So thank you so much for everything you're
Thank
doing.
you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Marian, thank you so much for joining as well and for collaborating on so many great projects.
Oh, thank you for having us, and I love doing this anyway, so I have no complaints at all. I just want more people to come visit
Of
Yeah.
course, yeah.
soon. Yeah.
I hope I can come and see you guys soon in Kamakura sometime.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please
Yeah.
visit sometime.
I would love to, yeah. Hopefully sometime soon. Thank you everybody for watching. Thank you, Louise, and all of your crew on Scope. Thanks for all your wonderful questions and comments. And you can watch this anytime, and please leave us a question and comment. We'll try to answer you and add some useful links below for Kamakura Mind. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.